Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA manufacturers race at Autopolis. So for this race it was quite extreme tyre wear, running either the medium or hard tyres. The Mustang wasn't particularly great. I think I was one of the only 4 drivers that attempted to race from the top split. Most of the other drivers just didn't bother, or the lowered their DR. I have no idea, but I didn't see anyone else in this top split race. I think there might have been one other driver in the first race we did in the Ford also, who qualified about 4 or 5 positions behind us. But I decided to just do 2 races. We did the second slot race. There was not much point in doing any more slots because the Ford was just not very competitive. I was just doing this for a bit of fun because it was good practice in terms of looking after your tyres, because the Ford really did chew up the front tyres more so than a lot of other cars. It wasn't so bad on the rear tyres, it was just mainly them front tyres. So what I decided to do for this race was do the tyre split. So this track kind of suits it, but you can get away with it at this track. I have done it before at this track with another car. So we put the hards on the front and the mediums on the rear. Now what this does give us is reasonably good traction coming out of some of the slower corners, but it can create a little bit of understeer through the more high speed corners. But I had to do it because the mediums were totally dead after 3 laps basically in the Mustang. So I'm going to have to do this split with the tyres and try and really look after the tyres as much as possible. As you see, we managed to qualify, I think it was P12, but like I say, this race was very much a multi-tier race basically, pretty much a multi-class, because you had the Toyota 86s and the Alfa Romeo 4Cs that were massively OP at this track, and then you had the cars that weren't so great on tyres and at the track towards the back end of the grid. There was an amazing performance in slot 1 by Lightning in the Subaru, but I will say the Subaru was actually quite suited to this track in terms of qualifying, and I think Lightning's just ability with tyre wear meant that he could actually hold on for the win in that race. But I do believe that the Subaru was quite a strong car in terms of its outright hot lapping pace for this combination. But we're starting from P13, just behind Calster in front there in the Lamborghini, pretty much in a very similar position to me. The car's just not going to last this race on tyres, so he's probably on them hard tyres. I think my tyres, the way I've done my tyres, was probably going to be better on tyres than the Lamborghini, because the Lamborghini just absolutely destroys its tyres recently as we go into the braking zone just behind Calster. Basically just trying to look after the tyres as much as possible. You can see I've got that brake bias all the way to the rear, which can cause the rear of the Mustang to go a little bit loose every now and then, but with the way I've done the tyre split, it should neutralise it a bit. And what I've done with this, what I basically tried to practice was putting obviously the rear bias all the way to the rear, the hard tyres on the front, and try and get the tyre wear as balanced as you can get it. And if anything, you want a little bit more front tyre life than the rear by the end of the race, because obviously the hard tyres have not got as much grip as the medium, so that's going to give you like pretty equal types of balance to the car. And that is what I always try and get, is a balance to the car by working the tyre wear and the brake bias to suit the balance mainly. That's the main aim, as we're now just sitting behind Calster. You can see not really much, there's no point fighting too much at this point. At the moment Calster's just about in that slipstream to Tierra Log, although he does seem to be struggling to stay with that pack that's in front of him. I'm just sitting in the slipstream at the moment, just trying to basically use his slipstream to help me keep speed while looking after the tyres and braking very early. And also one thing you'll notice is into some of the corners we're not going 100% on the brakes. Now when you put 100% in the brakes, it does absolutely kill the tyres. I do actually want to try and get a video done very soon all about tyre wear and looking after your tyres, because I feel like I've learned quite a lot with regards to tyres, how to look after your front tyres, how to look after your rear tyres. There's a few different strategies that I think a lot of people can benefit from if I try and get this video sorted over the next few weeks. It might take me a while to do, but obviously there is things that I want to obviously do it in a way that will show you the benefits of it, not in like FIA situation. What I'd do is I'd probably put the multipliers up to like ×50 and do a couple of laps and show you the difference in different strategies and how they look after the tyres, because I think there is a lot to be learned. I'm still learning. I've picked up quite a lot from Tierra Lightning, and it's definitely helped me out, and it helped me out in this race, as you can see, just managing to have a little look up the inside then onto Calster, but not really able to make a move. But now we've got Devil in the Toyota 86, which is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest car for this combination, maybe just behind the Alfa 4C. So that is going to be an extremely hard car to defend against. He's going to have so much more grip come like lap 3 or 4. As you see, he's trying to go around the outside there, but that's not going to work. I hold the inside line, get on the power nice and early, and the Ford just has that power to, you know, pull away from the Toyota GT6. But the good thing is, he's now battling with Matty behind in the Lexus, which is another car that is fairly strong at the track, but it's going to actually kill its tyres, very similar to my car. And it's probably not one of the better cars for the track overall, but in terms of outright pace, it's fairly competitive. As you see, the battle in front of us there between the Jaguar and Tierra Log, getting very close to each other there. The Porsche, obviously one of the stronger cars. I was quite surprised to see the Jaguar quite competitive here also. It seemed to be able to hold its own around this track, which was quite surprising. I did expect that to suffer with the tyre wear, but it seemed okay. And it could be difference with the setups on the car, obviously the gearing, and the way that certain cars wear the tyres more in certain combinations of tracks. I did notice that when it is front limited like this, the Ford Mustang becomes literally a disaster in tyre wear. When it's rear limited, the Ford actually is fairly strong and can pick up quite good results. So that's where I've kind of learned. I wasn't going to do this race, but we decided to just do it anyway. It's good practice for tyre wear. As you see, getting very close to Calston now in front of us, picking up the slipstream. Going to try and get past him now. I don't think he's going to fight this too much, because he's obviously, I think his car is already starting to suffer with the tyre wears. My car's actually feeling okay at this point in the race. Trying to keep that braking quite smooth. You can see trying as hard as possible not to use 100% brakes as we go into that corner. Managed to make that position. A little bit of contact there. I think Cal's actually turned in a slight little bit early, where he's trying, I think he was trying to get the undercut to jump behind me and then get the inside into this next corner, but he didn't make that work, as he's now under attack from Matty also, as they're going to go side by side. You can see it now on this replay camera. They're battling away behind me side by side with Devil. They're losing out quite a lot at the moment. He just can't seem to get past these power cars at the moment, but that will change once obviously he gets through later in the race, when he's got a lot more grip compared to the power obviously, and then no grip on our cars, and really struggling with understeer as we go through that really long left hand corner. That is a corner that can take so much life out of your front tyres, and it's a corner that I was going to always pick up understeer on, because I'm obviously running that tyre split. So we've got a lot of understeer through there and just trying to manage it. You can see, unfortunately, when we got past Calston, we were just outside the slipstream range. It was like 1.1, 1.2 seconds, and that meant we wasn't in the slipstream train. If I could have got in that slipstream train, maybe if we would have managed to get past Calston on lap 1, we might have been able to battle for a top 10. It might have been possible, because we've got Afo just up ahead there, who's going to struggle on tyres. You've got Steve Gaiman, who is going to struggle on tyres also. But unfortunately, we're just outside the range to stay in that battle, and it's just basically going to mean there's not much I can do, because once you're outside of a slipstream range in Group 4, it's extremely hard to stay with a group, because it's so strong, the pull with these Group 4 cars, because they're not the strongest down the straights, but they don't get affected that much when you're in the dirty air. They do get a little bit affected, but nowhere near as much as your Group 2 or your Group 1 cars, for example. As Matty now picking up that slipstream behind us, you can see in the mirror, is he going to go for a move into turn 1? I don't know if he's going to have the straight line drag from the car. It looks like he's picking up speed now, but he's a little bit too far back to make that move, so I decided to not really go defensive. There's no point defending when I felt pretty confident with Matty behind me that he's not going to lunge it into the corner. So he plays that safe, stays in the slipstream, and he'll probably look at making that move on another lap as we now go into turn 2, trying to keep it nice and smooth through here. You'll see what we're doing with the braking inputs, we're trying to keep them below that 100%, so we're not slamming the brakes down, because when you put maximum brake force in, what you tend to do is you wear out the front tyres quite a lot. And that's why when we were doing our recent Nations race, where the rear tyres were what you needed to look after, we were tending to be quite aggressive on the front tyres, because the fronts were not an issue. So I was trying to save the rears by being more aggressive on the fronts. So that's why you saw us not really shifting until very late on in the corner, so we weren't getting the differential, doing the slowing down of the car and wearing out the rear tyres. As now Matty has a little look down that right side. Is he going to try and hang it around the outside here? I'm going to have to brake and try and keep it very tight to give him the space on the outside. You can see there Devil behind us also, but now we've got the drag out the corners, possibly helped by their medium tyres with the extra traction that we get from that corner, and managed to still hold on to this position in the Mustang. So it's going to be a real battle of defending, looking after the tyres. We're not going to be able to attack in this race. A lot of the time when we do a poor qualifying or anything like that, we can normally make places up, but in this race it's not really going to be possible to go forward, because the car just cannot provide the speed around this track. I think a qualifying lap wasn't even that bad, to be fair. We did a 52.3, I think. We could have got a 51.8 or a 51.9 if we hooked it up. But even then, I think that would have been pushed. You know, it would have had to have been a fairly decent lap for myself at this combination. I'm not particularly strong in Group 4, although in other classes of car I'm fairly good, like Group 2 and Super Formula, etc. As you see there, Matty again trying to make that move on the outside there, but just can't get the grip. But now he's going to have the slipstream. Am I going to have to go defensive now on this right hand side? I felt like I did. You can see he's very, very close. He's going to go over to the left hand side. I'm going to stay down the right hand side, but we break a little bit too late there into the corner. This is going to compromise my exit. You see, I'm going to have to get off the throttle and then try and get back on the throttle and straighten the car, which gives Matty the inside line and gets him ahead. So I took straight back into that slipstream. Devil on the outside now, and this is going to be a very close battle, as Devil then is going to do the cut back there, as I have to defend really the inside. Brake a little bit late, starting to suffer now. The Mustang's getting very heavy and struggling on tyres now at this point of the race. And Devil's got that inside in the Toyota 86. He makes that move, a fair move. Not really much I could do about that there in terms of defending against the Toyota 86. Much better car for this track and tyre wear. And now we're back down to P13 with a Porsche behind us as well, which is going to be probably one of the strongest cars as well. We all know how strong the Porsche is around when it comes to like tyre wear. It's fairly, I've driven it, obviously it's a fairly strong car on tyre. I don't think it's as strong as it used to be though. I do feel like they've done something to that car that's kind of weakened it somehow, whether they've done a setup change or made an alteration somewhere that's kind of upset the car in terms of its overall speed. As you see there, Matty running wide after getting past, makes a mistake and nearly bins it, but just about manages to hang on. So I take an opportunistic move, saw the opportunity there and get that position back, put myself back up to P12. So that hard work there by Matty has all been undone by one mistake on the really fast right hand corner. Lost control of his car and just about managed to hang on, but now he's going to have to try and get back past us. But fortunately for me, I should be able to get the slipstream of Devil down this main straight now. We're not probably going to be able to make a pass. You can see we're a little bit too far behind. He's going to get a very strong exit from this corner, obviously in the Toyota 86, that can really carry speed through the corners. But now I've actually got the slipstream of Devil, which is going to help me defend into turn 1 again. So you can see there, Matty just not really been able to make a move with that Lexus into the braking. I'm going to just brake nice and gentle, try and be careful not to use too much braking life up there. You can see you have to be so careful on the brakes that you don't take too much life out them front tyres, as you know, heavy braking does destroy the front tyres. As we now go into turn 2, again trying to be smoother this time. We made that mistake on the lap before where we gave Devil the opportunity to go up the inside, but this time we keep it nice and controlled. And now just trying to make sure we don't make any mistakes. Again, that's going to give Matty the chance to go for that move, because I think if we don't make, I felt if I didn't make any mistakes, it was going to be very hard for Matty to get past, because I think he was also struggling with tyre wear. And when you're in the dirty air, it is that little bit harder to carry the speed through the corners, as you can see through this long left-hand corner. He's got a bit more grip at the moment. We're going to have to go defensive here down the left-hand side. You can see he's going to make a move. He's going to go try it again round the right-hand side, which is going to be extremely hard. I brake a little bit late, but you can see the Porsche takes advantage of Matty, who I think was trying to do the undercut, and actually nudges him off a little bit there, quite aggressively. I felt, when I saw that in the mirror, I think I said at the time, that looked a bit nasty. I can see why the Porsche went for the move, but it looked a bit optimistic and a little bit too aggressive for my liking. But it was good for me because it gave me a bit of breathing space from both them cars as we work our way towards the end of this race with just 2 more laps to go after we complete this. You can see now Devil is pulling away. There's not really much I can do in terms of staying with that car. But what you can see is that AFO up ahead, who I think has now lost, I think that some of the cars that were like the FR cars that were struggling on tyres like myself have lost that slipstream battle in terms of staying with the slipstream train, and now are starting to drop back a bit. You can see that AFO looks like he's starting to struggle a bit. You know, once you lose the slipstream, you're going to lose out on like 3 or 4, maybe half a second a lap, because you just haven't got the speed down the straight compared to what you were having before. And then through the corners, it's just going to be harder in general to defend against any sort of cars. We now go through turn 1 again, just about enough in the lead again from that Cayman. He's not going to be able to make a move, but you look how far Devil has pulled away already in the space of just a lap and a half basically, and he's gone. There's no real fight available for me. You can see Kowser in the background there, also struggling with them tyres and dropping back a little bit, but just probably running in his own race, looking after the tyres, just trying to get the car to the end of the race. And that's kind of what we were doing. I had to defend as well, which was probably using a little bit more life up in the tyres than what I would have liked, but the pace was staying fairly good. It was actually the best I'd actually driven this race, I think, out of all the practice races and all the and the first slot race as well, which I drove very well in the first slot, but this race I was actually keeping the lap times a lot more consistent for the car that I was driving. And it actually felt quite rewarding this race, even though we were in P12. As you see there, making a little mistake as the brake, we got on the brakes there. You can see what happened then was, you'll see me doing an expression there on the actual live camera. The rear just went on me on the brakes when I went into the corner to defend, and nearly snapped completely around. I managed to just about save it, but Pete obviously lost that position to the Porsche, but not much I could do about that. I had to run really wide. I think if I didn't do that, we would have lost the rear, but luckily managed to keep Matty behind again, so he's stuck behind us for a little bit longer, probably totally ruining his race in that Lexus. But he does seem to be suffering also with a lot of understeer in that Lexus now. I'm not sure if he was running the medium tyres, because he does seem to be struggling through some of the longer, faster corners to stay as close as what he was before. And the advantage again that I'm going to have now down the main straight is I'm going to have that slipstream to the Porsche going down this straight, which is going to help me defend against Matty if he's got the draft to make a move into turn 1. But you can see there, he's too far back now. He seems to be struggling with the tyres, just like I am, as we start the final lap in this race. And yeah, like I was saying, I feel like this was one of my better drives for this car, because I kept it really clean, I kept it smooth, didn't make any mistakes. Pace was good considering, you know, the tyre wear on this car. And it's just a shame that the car just wasn't strong enough around this combination. As you see, the Toyota 86 starting to catch up with AFO up there now. You can see the 86 getting basically within slipstream range. That's because now, obviously, AFO in the Hyundai's lost that slipstream, and now his tyres are pretty much dead. I'm guessing that the Hyundai was possibly running the medium tyres, because it does run tyre wear. It has got better tyre wear than the Mustang and some other cars. So my guess is he tried to do the medium tyres, and it's starting to fade off big time now on this final lap, where he's just got no front end grip, because you can really see where that Toyota is gaining and gaining and gaining. But you can see now I've not got a chance of gaining that P12 back, so I've just got to try and hold on to this position to the very end. It doesn't look like that Lexus is going to be able to make a move, really. It seems to be struggling, very similar to what I am, and also he's getting the added loss of aero through the corners, which doesn't it's not the nicest thing, obviously, when you've got no front grip, as it is as we go through this long right hand corner. Very tricky corner that caught Matty out before, but now we go into this kind of a lift off corner before getting back on the throttle. You can see, looking at the tyres, I feel like I've done a really good job. Obviously we're running the hards on the front, but the front tyre life was actually really solid, and was providing reasonable grip even at this stage of the race. The rears were starting to go a little bit loose. The rear left was starting to feel, and that's possibly one of the reasons why the car nearly lost control in that braking before, along with the 5 to the rear bias, which kind of influenced it as well. As we go through that final corner now, you can see Matty really struggling with understeer through that corner. It looks like his tyres are completely dead on that front, and now we go over the line for a fairly solid drive and a P12, quite a defensive drive. Not really much attacking I could do. It's just about looking after the tyres, and you can see the difference between certain other cars compared to our car, but I was happy with that result, so I decided not to race again, because I mean, we could have possibly picked up a top 10 if I would have raced the final race today at 11 PM, but I couldn't really be bothered staying on that long to pick up, say, a P8 or 9, because the points wouldn't have been worth it anyway, because like I say, top split, if you're not finishing in the top 3 or 4 places, it's not even worth doing now, really, because you don't get enough points to get yourself anywhere of any benefit. You can see P12, a really hard fought race to try and get P12 in the Mustang, and we come away with 1,200 points. That shows you just how, you know, it's not really worth going back in and doing another race when you're that far back, because we wouldn't have got a top 5. Impossible really to get a top 7. We might have got lucky and got a P8 or 9, but that would have been the most possible that we could get, and you'd still only come away with like 1,700 points, which wouldn't be enough to improve my score anyway. But it was still an enjoyable race. I enjoyed looking after the tyres, even though it was a real struggle, and it was some good battling in there, even though we're battling with pretty much a different classic car. We were battling with the Group 4.5, as we call them, and then obviously you can't really keep up with the tyre wear cars that are just gone and were able to push all the way to the end. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that video. Hope give some tips for tyre wear as well during that. We will try and get that tyre wear video out in the future to try and help people out in terms of tyre wear. Hopefully you won't need it as much in the future if they go to a different way of doing these FIA races, but possibly that won't happen. We'll have to see in the future. Anyway, if you did enjoy that video, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so, and hit that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. I'll be back with more videos and live streams very soon. Thanks again for watching, everyone.